is the North End. This is the North End.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the North End, and here are the 5 things we learned from Liverpool's dramatic win against Newcastle. So number 1, karma is a bitch. Now, people want to talk about Liverpool being lucky without watching the game, and there was a lot of narrative about the injury time after the injury time. This is the reason why I respect Twitter opinions on football about as much as I respect someone showing how happy they are on Instagram. Last night's game was a joke. Apparently, the ball was out of play in the second half for over 18 minutes. 18 minutes. Now, that's disgusting. Teams are allowed to come for their point. You're allowed your smash and grab. But the cramps, the feigning injuries, the goalkeepers lying on the ball, it's pathetic. It's boring and it's shit. And do what you like. You can come to any ground and do what you like. But these teams and their fans, and even the people talking about this without actually watching the game, you're losers. You're losers. You're all losers. You're allowed to win sport however you want. Of course you are. But you're not really winning, to be honest with you. And the funny thing is, there's also fans of bigger teams who jump on this when it doesn't affect them. By the way, the only 2 teams this really happens to on a consistent basis is Liverpool and Manchester City. So if you're a fan of a team who's on the come up and might actually take one of those 2 spots, obviously more likely to take Liverpool's spot at the moment. But if you were to take one of those spots and it started happening to you, you'd suddenly change your tune. Yeah, it was disgusting what Newcastle were about last night. And I actually think they're a good team and I quite like their fan base. But something has happened over the last 10, 15 years in the Premier League. I grew up in the UK and there was a big narrative around not liking divers and not liking, and I know that there was a bit of that was saved a lot for foreign players. You'd see even the Gerrards and the Owens, so I'm talking about Liverpool players, but then the Beckhams and the Rooneys and the Lampards, you'd see English players doing the same thing and the media would look the other way. And to some extent, fans would look the other way. But now this is very, very much part of our game. The Premier League is full of divers, it's full of cheats, and it's kind of crap, to be honest with you. And I think that last night, karma was a bitch. Funnily enough, I read something that the ball was out of play for 2.5 minutes of stoppages in injury time alone. And apparently, when Carvalho smashed that goal in, it was around 2.5 minutes past what was allotted for injury time. You know what? I'm not saying that everyone needs to try and win the Fair Play League. I'm not saying that this has to suddenly do a 180. But where it's at the moment, and the FA said that they wanted more free-flowing football, take that for what you actually are trying to do right now. It was just awful yesterday what Newcastle were doing and other teams are doing. And again, you know what? Because it's happening to City and Liverpool, the words are cry more and cry more. Just wait till it happens to you, if it happens to you, and see how you feel about it. For me personally, yesterday, the same thing as Jurgen Klopp said, I actually loved how we won that yesterday. That was much, much better than winning it in the 57th minute or the 65th minute. Not because our nerves could take it, because Liverpool fans are on edge right now, and obviously there's a lot of it's not been the best start of the season, for want of a better term. But yeah, I feel like yesterday, the way it was, it's not going to stop teams playing like that. It's not going to stop teams doing that. And it works to some extent. But if Newcastle had actually shown just a little bit of ambition yesterday, like we were on the ropes, we were there for the taking, but instead they'd rather do that. Well, there you go. That's what karma does. Point number 2, 3 points are 3 points. Look, Liverpool are not at their best. We know that. Everybody knows that. You can see that. A 9-0 against Bournemouth, where everything goes our way, does not paper over that crack. But you know what's worse than our performance last night? Playing like that and dropping points. With Liverpool's injuries and suspensions, we just have to generally keep up with the pack on form, which obviously includes Man City, but then there are other teams that have started really well. And you know what? Coming out of this with Jota and Darwin about to come back, we generally have. It's not ideal. Obviously, there are point gaps that we either wouldn't want to be on this side of or would ideally be on the other side of. It's not pretty. It doesn't have to be. We're getting our players back. The fact is that at the end of the season, they're not going to look at how we played last night. Obviously, at the moment, Manchester City can't get any more ground on us. It's looking ominous. They're looking great. Haaland's looking awesome. So in the meantime, 3 points are 3 points. It's not going to be easy on Saturday again because it's the Merseyside derby. So let's just keep this rolling the way it is, and let's see where we net out. And above anything else, let's see where we are in February and March. But all of that comes at performing pretty well right now. Point number 3, I just have to reiterate that the Fabinho and Henderson midfield just isn't working against a low block. Henderson's had his best time at Liverpool as an 8. Of course, Fabinho is a 6. But right now, I don't necessarily think they're playing creatively enough, either of them. And they have had tendencies to be creative at different times in their Liverpool career. But right now, they're not playing well enough to actually have them both in a low block team. And I understand why they are both playing. By the way, there has been major injuries in our midfield. So at some point, it's just who's available and can they play. But if we actually saw what's happened in the last couple of games when they play together, it's blunt. There's no creativity. There's no spark. Luckily for us, Henderson picking up the injury now breaks that up. I'm not happy about Henderson picking up an injury, particularly another injury in midfield. But the silver lining to me is that I just don't see Fabinho and Henderson working together at the moment. I can understand when we're trying to keep it tight, but not when we know that we're going to have to make chances, create things. It's just not the thing that's going to spark us right now. The next one, key players are still off form. I've just spoken about Fabinho and Henderson. Neither of them are covering themselves in glory. Trent Alexander-Arnold coming under a lot of criticism right now. Andy Robertson definitely doesn't look like his best. And then there's also the Virgil van Dijks of the world. Mo Salah isn't firing, too far wide still. I'm not really sure why at this point. It's so early in the new season and there have been signs. But at the same time, we really need to figure out what this is and turn that around. And the players are the ones that have to do it. I think that there's this collective cloud at the moment, particularly down to the lack of signings. We need to get over that. I cannot wait for this transfer deadline to be shut. I do think it's having a bit of an impact. You can shield yourself from social media or media talk as a player, but I do think that there's a bit of a collective cloud at the moment. It's definitely having an effect on the players, or something is having an effect on the players. I think that these last 2 wins and then hopefully a positive result on Saturday can finally kickstart the season. That's the 3rd time I'm saying it. But the players are not on form. They're not at their best. They're not doing things that used to come or generally come intuitively to them. They have to just work harder and get out of it collectively and individually. And it is a bit of a concern for me. And point number 5, Harvey Elliott and Fabio Carvalho is some future Liverpool have lined up. They look really exciting. Now, Elliott was man of the match. I thought he's been outstanding every time he's played this season, except at Old Trafford. And Old Trafford can be a daunting place for more mature, more senior players. So no issue with that. Other than that, he's been either the best or one of the 2-3 players that every time he's taken onto the pitch, he's taking full advantage of the shortage in midfield at the moment. And it's particularly sweet because of how last season went. You know, he started in the number 8 role for us last year, and then obviously he got that injury at Leeds. I actually think he'd be knocking right on the England team door, not the squad, if he hadn't got that injury, because he started last season this way as well. World Cup's probably going to come too soon for him, which again, as a Liverpool fan, we're fine with. But yeah, while other people have been away and there's been a lot of conversation about who's missing, Harvey Elliott has been a shining light and was man of the match again yesterday. And as for Carvalho, that's 2 goals coming off the bench, one at the Cop, the other one a late 97th minute winner. He's becoming already a bit of a hero. I would love to see them starting together. Probably not against Everton, but who knows? I would even chuck them in against Everton right now. But certainly in future games and in the Carabao Cup, against low block teams, I would love to see Carvalho and Elliott behind 3 attackers. I just think it would be a lot of firepower. And the thing I'm loving about Carvalho in particular is he's got the cutting edge. He's obviously scored twice, as I said, but also a key last minute winner like yesterday. And then the needle in his celebration when he sat down with cramp as well. I love it. He's already looking like he's going to be a Liverpool player. So ending up on a high. Most of the night wasn't a high. It was highly frustrating. But yeah, 5 things we learned from yesterday. As always, please be sure to subscribe and like and comment. And if you agree or disagree with anything, please give me a shout. Looking forward to doing the next one, which will be against Everton. But for now, I've been Aizaz. This is the North End, and up the Reds.
This is the North End. This is the North End.